In a car on the roof of a building, there is a whole lot of banging, but it's not what you think. A woman, Riley, is beating the crap out of a gangster. Though she gets slashed, she eventually overpowers him, asking him if he remembers her, before blowing his brains out. She staggers out and drags the body out of the car into the trunk. Riley then heads back to her hideout at a homeless camp, where she lives inside a van. On her door she sees a little bag, and in the distance 2 kids are spying on her, wondering if she found their gift. Riley gets in, downs a bottle of vodka before stapling her wound and wrapping her leg with tape. She then checks the gift that the kids left to see a box of cookies. This brings her back to 5 years ago, when Riley and her daughter Carly are returning from their Cub Scouts meeting. When this Cub Scout Karen and her baby Karen comes harassing them about their parking spot on some soccer mom bullcrap. Riley is not into her crap and basically tells her to get lost, but not before Karen implies that Carly might not be a good fit for the Cub Scouts. After they leave, Carly thinks her mom should have punched her lights out, but Riley tells her that they can't go around punching jerks. Yes, you can. Riley then brings Carly to her husband Chris, who runs a failing auto shop. Riley rushes to work where her boss tells her that she is closing, and despite it being Carly's birthday, she has no choice but to comply. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I do YouTube. Later, Chris is at the shop when his friend Mickey comes by, telling him about a plan to rob a drug kingpin named Diego, wanting Chris to be the getaway driver, but Chris is skeptical, and tells him he'll think about it. Riley finally gets home from work only to see the house empty, as no one from Carly's class showed up for her birthday party, leaving her really sad. Riley checks the telephone messages only to realize that Cub Scout Karen actually planned a party and invited all the kids from Riley's class to spite them. Not wanting to disappoint Carly, Riley and Chris plan to take her out for rides and ice cream at a local carnival, which cheers Carly up. Not wanting to risk his family's safety, Chris leaves a message for Mickey, turning down his offer, telling him it's not a good idea. Oh, I think he knows, because Mickey actually got caught by Diego, who has him tied up and bloodied. Turns out, Mickey mentioned Chris's name during the interrogation, and even though he had nothing to do with it, Diego gives the order for his men to make an example out of Chris. As the family is leaving for the carnival, a car posted outside their house begins following them. After a fun night, the family is getting ice cream to head home, and meanwhile, a car pulls up and some gangsters are watching the family intently. The 3 are heading back to their vehicle when the goons pull down on them and spray Chris and Carly with bullets, then turning their guns on Riley before speeding off. Riley is hit in the head but manages to drag herself to her husband and daughter, crying over their bodies. Riley manages to survive the attack and gets rushed to the hospital. Meanwhile, detectives Carmichael and Beltran turn up on the scene to begin their investigations. 1 month later, Riley wakes from a coma with Carmichael already there in her room. He tells her that they caught the suspects, and despite her condition, they want her to identify them or else they will be released. Carmichael also reveals the plan to rob Garcia and how Chris was involved, leaving Riley in tears. Riley gets to the station and manages to pick out all the guys she saw that night, which is a miracle after being shot in the head. After, the 2 detectives meet up for lunch where Beltran shows Carmichael a badge, telling him that that's all left of the last detective to go after Garcia, also revealing that Diego has men inside the precinct. Beltran then warns him to leave the case alone and let everything play out to save his own life. Riley is back at home, planning to move out, and is packing her stuff all while in tears. Downstairs, a man lets himself into the house, introducing himself as a friend. He claims that he wants to give her advice, telling her that she will soon need to move on and forget about all this, before sliding her an envelope full of cash. Riley realizes that he is trying to pay her off, telling him to leave, but he continues on, saying that her memory might have gone bad. He then sees her medications sitting on the counter, realizing they are antipsychotics, before Riley chases him out of the house. At the court hearing, it turns out the man is an attorney who is representing the gangsters, and he brings up the medications that he saw at Riley's house, implying that her medications may have messed with her memory, but Riley, who is now in tears, denies this. Despite her pleas, the judge agrees with the district attorney, and to Riley's shock he releases the gangsters, and even her own attorney has no objections. Hearing this, Riley gets into a rage, before launching herself at the men out of anger, causing the cops to tase her until she passes out, to the amusement of the gangsters. Riley is ordered to be admitted to a psych ward and gets loaded into an ambulance, but considering those ambulance and hospital fees, Riley knocks down Beltran before escaping the ambulance and making a run for it. 5 years later, detectives Beltran and Carmichael get called to a scene, where they see the 3 gangsters from the trial, killed and tied by their feet on a carnival ride. At the FBI, Agent Inman gets news of a robbery at a gun store, where a large arsenal of weapons were stolen, and we see a security picture of Riley. Riley is in her van, readying her weapons, putting on a bulletproof vest and preparing for war. Riley has taken the judge from the case hostage, finding out that the man was working for Diego all along. She drives nails into his hands and wraps an explosive rope around his body, telling him that just like everything was ripped from her, she will take everything from him and serve the justice he was meant to serve. Riley leaves and gets on a bus, and makes a call to the phone which is wired to the bomb, and a massive explosion kills the judge. Meanwhile, Agent Inman is meeting with the detectives about what she found out about Riley. After disappearing from the ambulance 5 years ago, Riley stole $50 million from the bank she worked at, disappeared for 5 years, during which she got involved with professional fighting, and apparently a lot more that they have no idea about. Carmichael thinks it is nothing, but Inman points out that 3 months after Riley returned, the gangsters were found dead on the 5th-year anniversary of her family's death. Carmichael then gets the call about the successive hits against the district attorney, prosecuting attorney and the judge, who were all found dead at their homes. Realizing that Riley means business, they decide to put out an APB to catch her. At Diego's quarters, he gets the news about the judge, lawyers and Riley, and decides to put a paycheck on her head. Diego returns to his meeting with the son of his boss, who is furious that their shipments have been going missing and warns Diego to remember his place and get things under control. On a bus, Riley sees a little boy with his father and hands him her daughter's toy. The boy explains that his father drinks a lot and he has to take care of him, and this bothers Riley. The boy and his father get off the bus and he goes straight for another drink, but Riley knocks him down. She takes his ID and reads out his address, politely requesting that he change his life for his son, to which he eagerly agrees. She then steals the cashier's car and begins to stake out a business used as a front for Diego's money laundering operations. Riley disguises herself as a homeless woman and walks up to the entrance where 2 goons are posted. They try to chase her off, but Riley takes down the 2 men with her blade and brass knuckles. She heads inside and sees the men all gathered playing cards, then removes her coat to reveal a sweet-looking shotgun. The men spot Riley and open fire, alerting the other goons, but she wastes no time and begins to blast the goons away before launching herself to the ground floor to take cover. She recovers quickly and is forced into close combat, but her skills are impeccable, and she easily manages to kill her attackers and clear a whole room before holding one man and asking him questions. The man is released and returns to Diego, revealing that Riley demanded the running of Diego's operation before burning all his cash. Seeing that Riley is no joke, Diego orders that his security be doubled and that Riley be put in a body bag before sunset. Now that the cops have released Riley's information to the public, her actions have people divided, as some condemn the vigilante killings, but a vast majority side with her. The FBI and detectives are at the scene of the crime, and Carmichael reveals that he still does not believe that Riley could be capable of all this. Riley, using the information from Diego's man, turns up at one of Diego's labs and grabs her weapon. She heads inside looking for any sign of the men, but soon realizes that the place is booby-trapped with explosives, as Diego has set an ambush. Riley makes a run for it and manages to escape just as a massive explosion rips through the building. Riley has survived and is able to steal a man's car and goes looking for the goons. The men report back to Diego, thinking they have got her, but Riley is able to catch up with them. Agent Inman tracks down Riley's hideout, based on the drop in crime levels around the area, and speaks with a homeless man who reveals that things have been good since their guardian angel turned up. Riley is hot on the goons' tails when she realizes that they are heading back to Diego's home. She ambushes the goons, kills one and stabs the other, forcing him to drive up to the gate where she kills the 2 guards there. She breaks into the compound, using the van as cover, and kills more men. The car runs and crashes into the house and Riley goes in, where men try to ambush her, but she is able to kill them. Diego and one of his men are left hiding in the house when Riley comes looking for them. They try to hold her back with gunfire, but she kills Diego's guard before holding him at gunpoint. Riley is distracted when Diego's daughter comes out and he manages to stab her before he escapes. Diego hears the sirens in the distance and makes a run for it. Meanwhile, Riley, weak and in pain, manages to drag herself from the building and escape. She then heads over to Cub Scout Karen's house and knocks her out before dressing her wounds. Cub Scout Karen wakes up tied to a chair and Riley holds a gun to her head, causing her to pee herself before stealing her car. Inman calls Carmichael over to the homeless shelter where she has found Riley's van and her stash of weapons. She wants to set up a trap to catch Riley, and has figured out that there must be someone working for Garcia on the inside, when suddenly Carmichael shoots her dead, then tells Diego to bring all his men. Riley returns to the homeless camp and passes out. Meanwhile, Diego and his men turn up and begin searching for her. Riley wakes up in time and manages to kill one of the men. She hears the others on the radio approaching her position, but manages to lay a trap and kill them all. She then tells them on the radio to hand over Diego and leave, or she will kill them all. Diego mocks her that she is injured and this will not end well, but Riley promises to shoot him in the face. Riley stumbles upon Inman's body in a dumpster, uses her cell phone to contact the media and then goes live. She reveals Sir Michael's involvement with Garcia, inviting all new crews to turn up on the scene, saying she is planning to end everything tonight. Diego then grabs one of the kids that gave Riley her gift, promising to kill her if Riley does not show herself. Riley decides to give herself up to save the girl, then confronts Diego. He begins to punch Riley down, and instead of shooting her on the spot, he decides to take his time, kicking her to the ground. Just then the cops turn up, and Diego, thinking that Carmichael has sold him out, shoots him dead before fleeing. He is about to escape when Riley confronts him and begins to beat his ass before holding him at gunpoint. Beltran turns up with his cops and surround Riley and Diego. Beltran assures Riley that Diego will be brought to justice this time, but Riley remains unconvinced, as the justice system failed her previously. With no chance to escape and underestimating Riley's resolve, Diego mocks Riley, confident that she can't kill him now and that she will spend more time in prison than him. However, Riley states that they will not be going to prison and shoots Diego in the head. The police fire at Riley, but she manages to escape. Beltran finds Riley wounded at her family's gravestone, and despite Riley's expressed desire to die, he has her taken to a hospital. Beltran later visits her, telling her that there are those who agree with what she did. He also agrees with what she did, and by helping him expose dirty cops in his department, slips her the key to her handcuffs, allowing Riley to escape again and to her freedom. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.